Hello, and welcome to the Feeling Good podcast, where you can learn powerful techniques to change the way you feel. I am your host, Dr. Rhonda Borowski, and joining me here in the Murrieta studio is Dr. David Burns. Dr. Burns is a pioneer in the development of cognitive behavioral therapy and the creator of the new TEAM therapy. He is the author of Feeling Good, which has sold over 5 million copies in the United States and has been translated into over 30 languages. His latest book, Feeling Great, contains powerful new techniques that make rapid recovery possible for many people struggling with depression and anxiety. Dr. Burns is currently an emeritus adjunct professor of clinical psychiatry at Stanford University School of Medicine.
Hello, Rhonda.
Hello, David, and welcome to all of our listeners across the United States, Canada, Mexico, and across the universe. Welcome to the Feeling Good podcast. This is episode 343. And today we're talking about the invitation step with Mike Christensen and his daughter, Caelyn Christensen.
Great to be here.
Great to have both of you, and it's always great to see you, Mike, and it's an honor to meet you, Caelyn. Thanks for joining us, and we're so eager to hear what you folks have to say.
Yeah, let me introduce Caelyn a little bit. So Caelyn's 19 years old, and she is a keen student of psychology, and she's starting her university career in the fall of 2023, pretty soon. She's going to be attending the University of Northern British Columbia to study psychology, and that's in Prince George. Caelyn loves animals. Her cat Evie and her horse Tulio top her animal loving list, and she studied positive reinforcement focused training with horses under Adele Shaw at the Willing Equine Center in Texas. And she's read many of Dr. Burns's books, and she implements his TEAM-CBT principles in her writing and at work. Currently, Caelyn works full-time in customer service at a beauty salon, and she works part-time at a garden center. And both of those jobs, she gets regular opportunities to practice her 5 secret skills. And an interesting thing about Caelyn is that she's a huge Taylor Swift fan, and she often reviews Taylor Swift's lyrics with her dad from a TEAM-CBT perspective, which I think must be such an interesting thing to do together. And just a word about Mike. Mike has recently got a promotion. We introduced him recently on a previous podcast that came out pretty recently, and on grief that came out April 3rd, just a few weeks ago. And now Mike has gotten a promotion. He's the Director of Professional Development for the Feeling Good Institute. So good for you, Mike. Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, you did a podcast with us, Mike, episode 338, Good Grief, Sadness is Not Depression, on the loss of your good friend, Chris, Yip, and also your dog. We've got a lot of emails about that. One was from Chris's mother, Nancy, and she wrote to us, I just finished listening to the podcast on grief with Michael speaking about my son, Chris Yip. I'm honored to have been his mother. Thank you for loving Chris and being sad, Michael. Love, Nancy.
Yeah, it was very sweet to hear from her.
Yeah.
Very touching.
Yeah. I also wanted to, Wilhelmina wrote us a really sweet, short email after David posted something about the TEAM-CBT intensive that just took place in Warsaw in the beginning of April. Wilhelmina wrote, "Oh, David, do you know how great thou art?" which is pretty cool.
Isn't that some kind of Christian hymn? How great thou art, or something like that. How sweet the sound, or something.
Yeah, something like
you
that.
You got it.
So I wanted to say.
Well, thanks, Wilhelmina. You make me blush, but my narcissism has no limit. So lay it on thick.
And I wanted to say I was at the TEAM-CBT intensive in Warsaw, Poland, and it was an incredible experience. There were about 100 therapists there, both online and in person. David came and gave the keynote address, which was very very informative and moving. And you also did personal work with a participant from the Congress. And I think it's so important for everyone to be able to see, the master at work, the person who created TEAM-CBT.
Particularly when I have a brilliant co-therapist, but I don't recall who was my co-therapist. Do you remember, Rhonda, who that person was?
Could it have been me?
It could have been you, indeed. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, and that was a young woman with problems with social anxiety and then
speaking.
a little bit of body image concerns too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, she was a really sweet and beautiful person.
Yeah. And, for everyone who missed that intensive, there's going to be another 4-day intensive, 2 other 4-day intensives in 2023. The next one is going to be August 14th to 17th. And that's sponsored by the TEAM-CBT UK group in United Kingdom. And that's going to be in Bristol, in the UK. And you can go to TEAM-CBT.UK for more information about that.
TEAM-CBT, as one word, TEAM-CBT?
Yes.
.uk.com.
No, I think it's just TEAM-CBT.UK.
Oh, TEAM-CBT.UK for more information. And that's August 14 through 17.
Yes.
2023. It'll be a 4-day intensive. I'll be back. I'll be doing a live demo. Do you know with who?
Actually,
It's you, Rhonda, isn't it?
It might be me. It might be Mike. We'll see.
Is it going to be you, Mike? I thought
Ron and I will both be there, and it's always fun to do live demos. And
I'd love to work with either one of you. And we're going to be doing one in Mexico, aren't we, Mike? Or
yes, I think that's the plan. Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, and the one in Mexico is in November.
Do you have the dates on that one?
I believe it's November 6th until the 10th.
That sounds right, but I won't confirm it.
Yeah.
And if someone wants to attend the Mexico intensive, is there a link for that?
Yes, there is, which I'll tell you by the end of today's podcast.
Oh, right. You have to listen to the podcast to the end to get the exciting link.
Nice work.
So today's topic at Mike and Caelyn's request was the invitation step in our TEAM-CBT structure. So let's dive into that and say what made you interested in that?
That's such a good question, Rhonda. When we had chatted before, and I love doing these podcasts with you, and it's always so fun to hang out with you and David. And we're just looking for different ideas. And I just had a number of parents have asked me, over the years, how do I help my teenager or other, family members? How do I help a family member? What do I do? And there's a couple of great podcasts that David has on how to help and how not to help, right? The importance of just doing empathy. But sometimes then the parents will say, what do I do after I've empathized? It seems like, when I start to give advice or direction, it falls flat. And it just came to mind to me how important the invitation step is, not only with our clients and patients, but also with our friends and family. And over the years, when I've been teaching, I often refer to Caelyn as being one of my best teachers, right? When I was learning the 5 secrets, she was the one who, as a probably 8 or 9-year-old would say, Dad, don't give me that psychology crap. and really what she was saying is, you're not doing a very good job of the 5 secrets. You're being kind of this counselor mode rather than being listening dad mode. And so then I would have to go back and, do my relationship journal and review my 5 secrets. And, over the years, I've discovered, particularly with Caelyn, because she's so insightful and way smarter than me, that when I don't offer an invitation after I've listened, she gets a bit annoyed with me. And when it happens with other members of our family or friends as well. And I thought, this might be such a great one, not only for therapists to be reminded of, but also for when you're interacting with friends and family, how important it is to, how many people like being given advice when it isn't asked for.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, let's make this real simple, because a lot of our listeners are like me. They're kind of simple-minded. lowish IQs. And so we have to have things explained to us in real simple terms. And you're using this big word about 5 secrets and helping teenagers and invitation step. But I'm thinking, I don't understand exactly what they mean. Can we make this crystal clear? I think the first point you made we can make crystal clear is that a lot of times when your kids are upset or whining or complaining or anyone for that matter, we often jump in and try to help or give advice, and then they get pissed off, quite understandably. And that learning not to help is the biggest secret in helping. In other words, to listen, to paraphrase what they're saying, to acknowledge how they're feeling, to ask for more information, to find truth in what they're saying, to be with someone who's suffering without trying to tell them what to do. But you're saying that if one really works at it and learns those skills, and they're not easy to learn. But now let's say you've done it, and then once you've been a good listener, then what? I mean, the person then might want to know what to do. So shouldn't you just, once you've empathized, just go ahead and tell them what to do?
Yeah, I love how you've clarified that, David, because that's absolutely right. If we're not doing the listening beforehand, then there's no connection, and it always, leads to kind of frustration or annoyance. And so once we've listened, once we've connected, once we're, the other person is feeling like they're being heard, then we have this opportunity, because often in our minds we think, oh, I know what the solution is. I can help them. I've got all these skills and tools, right? As a counselor, as a therapist, when Caelyn,
or as a mom or dad,
yeah. I would have great ways to help her fix whatever's going on in her life, and think, oh, I just, want to help. But if I don't ask her whether she wants my help or not, then, I get into this, potential power battles struggle where I'm now in charge rather than her. And it's the same with our clients. And that's what we call the invitation. We ask the question, do you want my help, or did you just want me to listen? Or maybe there's more you wanted to talk about, or I would love to, offer you something in addition to the listening, but what is it that you would like?
But Mike, I have a question about that too.
Step. Yeah, go ahead.
And I think we should dominate the conversation and leave Caelyn out. Because I was almost going to ask Caelyn a question right now.
You go. Ask Caelyn a question.
Well, is your dad have it right, and is that something he didn't used to do, and something he's used to doing, and is this something that you use in your life as well? What's your take on what's been said here so far?
He definitely jogged my memory, because this happened when I was decently young, and sometimes I forget because he has gotten a lot better. But him saying that quote, "Dad, stop just being a therapist," and throwing all this psychology stuff at me, I think that's a direct quote from when I was a kid. So yeah, I definitely remember there being some kind of frustrations and arguments about wanting him to just listen and not try to problem solve for me when I hadn't asked for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Caelyn, let me ask you the question I was going to ask your dad.
Okay.
Isn't there kind of a acceptance? Like if you're talking to your dad or your friend or anyone, just because you're talking to them about that, isn't there sort of an inherent permission for them to give you advice or help you problem solve just by the fact that you're talking to them?
It's hard because sometimes it feels that way. Sometimes it feels like someone brings you this issue and you can think that they're asking for help when maybe they just want someone to listen to them. And so I even find this for myself with my friends. If they talk about their problems, I also like to give out advice without asking first. It's almost a habit that just everybody has that can be hard to kick, I feel.
Yeah. So the message, which our listeners definitely won't hear, is stop trying to help people you love who are upset, or people you know, because, as the Buddha said so many years ago, that just pisses people off. So what should we do instead, Caelyn? If we've done a good job of listening and have been disciplined and not throwing out advice or trying to help the person, said, wow, it sounds like you're really hurting and X and Y and Z happened, and sounds like you're angry and anxious and feeling really hurt, and tell me more about that. And you go on. And eventually, they give you an A in listening and say you've really done a great job of hearing me out. Then what would you say to them, Caelyn, to find out if they want more than just listening, if they want help of some kind?
I guess that would be the invitation step. I've never heard the official definition, but what I've gathered from my conversations with my dad is that's the moment that you kind of reach out and say, hey, did you just want to get this off your chest? Or do you need me to give you some ideas on what to do with this? You kind of give those open hands and say, like, what do you, as the person who came to me, want going forward from me, to kind of not be pushing anything on them, I guess, is my understanding.
Right.
Well done.
Do you know the difference between a straightforward and a paradoxical invitation, Caelyn?
I am not familiar.
Your dad might know. But
she'll know as soon as you do one, because I've done it with her, and then she go, "Oh, that's what he's doing."
Oh, I see.
Names of things, but I probably would recognize it.
Well, sometimes you get the feeling from somebody that they actually don't want help, that they want to whine and complain and see themselves as a victim, and that's particularly common when you're doing therapy. When people have a relationship problem, they're often telling you what a victim they are and how someone else is to blame. Their parents are to blame, or their boyfriend's to blame, or their teachers are to blame, and they really are not looking for help, because to be helped with a relationship problem, you have to look at your own role and start doing things differently. And a lot of people, most people with relationship problems, do not want to do that. They just want to tell people what a loser their dad is, or their teacher, or their whatever. Do you know what I mean? And that's one category of where you'd have to give what I call a paradoxical invitation. And it's really a cool thing to learn how to do. And it would go something like this. You would say to the person,
David, I wonder if we could do a demo with it right now.
Yeah.
Would that be okay?
Yeah.
What if we have Caelyn just share a little bit about, some situation, then we could demo a really bad one, like an advice giving, and what that feels like. And then we could demo a paradoxical invitation. What do you think?
Yeah, sure. That'd be fun. And in fact, I could be the patient, the whiner, and really, really whine and complain.
Sure. Or we could have Caelyn do
or
it.
Caelyn can, yeah. And then Caelyn's dad will demonstrate a paradoxical invitation.
Sure. Well, maybe
we'll give you a grade.
Maybe I'll demonstrate a failure to do one. I'll be advice giving dad. How does that sound?
Okay.
And then
right.
Rhonda, you and David can do an A+1. What do you think?
I think you could do the A+1 too, but let's just see what happens.
Caelyn, can you kind of whine and blame and be in a mood not to want any kind of help with whoever you're ticked off at?
Yeah, I'll do my best to.
Okay.
Okay. So I had this situation today at work, and there was this client. He was 20 minutes late for his appointment, and he comes in, and we've marked it as a no-show. And so I'm trying to explain to him. I say, sir, you were past the deadline, the cutoff. The service provider has had to go home. And so we won't be able to do the service today. And this guy just starts ranting at me. And before I can even respond, he just storms out the door. And so I'm very upset about this. And it's just been a rough day.
So, Caelyn, I'm so glad you're telling me about this. And, as your dad, I have some great ideas of how you could fix this. Actually, you know what? If you did a little better of reminding people of when their appointments were, and then, sent that reminder notice, and also you could tell your clinician there that they could hang out for a little bit longer. Then you wouldn't have to do that. And I could show also how to do 5 secrets with this guy, so he wouldn't be mad.
So what grade do you give him on that? An A, a B, a C, a D, or an F?
Me?
Yeah.
I would give him a really low grade, because
what's the grade?
I would say maybe an F.
Good.
It's a little bit simulated, but that's exactly the same kind of thing I have done in the past. And we're so tempted to do. We have the solutions, we have the ideas. And how does that feel, Caelyn, to hear that?
Well, the interesting thing is many of the suggestions you gave are things that we already do. And so if you had asked more questions, then you would have known that. And so instead, giving the advice that someone probably already knows and is completely capable of kind of feels a bit condescending a little bit.
Is it also a little infuriating?
Yes. Especially if you already do all the things that someone is now telling you to do, that can be frustrating.
One of the things I've learned is that I was going to say 95, but it's probably more like 98% of the time when Caelyn is sharing some of the difficulties she's having, when I just do empathy, she comes up with a solution on her own, and it's usually a better one than mine. But,
right, of course.
Should we demo the improved version, the
straightforward one?
Do you want to do the straightforward invitation, Rhonda? Caelyn,
sure.
the same story.
Well, no, wait a minute.
No. Okay, David has no idea.
Now I'd like Caelyn to be the therapist or the father or whoever, and show us an improved response to Caelyn.
Okay, cool.
Do you want me to be we'll role reverse, and I'll play.
Yeah, do that. Why don't you do that, Mike?
Yeah, you know what? At work today, this client, came 20 minutes late, and at 15 minutes, we'd already sent out these reminders, and our clinician had to leave, so they couldn't be there. And then he was really mad, and he wouldn't listen and wasn't paying attention at all. And he stormed out really mad. Such a frustrating situation.
That sounds like a really difficult and irritating day at work. Did you want to talk about it more or need any ideas, or did you just kind of want to get that off your chest? And
okay. Now let's grade that. Or finish it if you want to finish it. Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah. Now, how did you grade yourself on that?
I'd give it like I think maybe a B. I could have done more. I just blanked a little, I think.
Yeah. And what grade did you give it, Mike?
Yeah, I would say it was definitely in that kind of higher end of the range, B+, A-.
Not too bad. Could be better.
Yeah.
I'm not a professional.
Yeah, I mean,
and what grade did you give it, Rhonda?
I definitely gave it an A-. I thought it was really very good. And there's just a few things that could have made it stronger, but I loved it just the way it stood.
Yeah, I agree. I gave it an A- also, B+, A-. And what do you think would have got you up to the A+ response on that?
I feel like I'm not sure. I don't want my response to at all be shutting the conversation down. And
Right.
so sometimes I don't know the best way to keep it open and genuinely supportive. Yeah.
Let's assume that you spent 10 minutes just being open and supportive and got an A+ on empathy. Then how could you have just modified your response to make it, a bit warmer or a bit more awesome?
I honestly am not sure. I'm kind of blanking right now.
Let's see what the so-called
hear
experts think.
what you guys have to say.
Yeah.
I have some ideas if you'd be open to hearing them.
Oh, I sure would.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, how do I keep it open and going? And perhaps a little bit more of an inquiry, just asking an additional question. You said, do you want to get that off your chest? And, I'd love to hear more about what that was like for you. Tell me a little bit more, or were you looking for some kind of guidance or ideas? I could go in either direction. That might take it up a little bit, but what are your thoughts, David?
Well, let's hear Rhonda, and then I'll go at the end.
I love everything that your dad just said. I was also thinking if you added like an I feel statement, that you were feeling sad or frustration along with him, that might have boosted it up a little bit.
Yeah, that can, an I feel statement always adds warmth. I love you so much, and I admire you so much, and it's sad when I hear that someone's treating you like a piece of rubbish or something. And I'm sure that must be very irritating for you. That would be one thing, and then another thing would be some stroking too is always good for someone to hear. And you're so amazing, and for most psychotherapy experts don't have the skills you have already at the age of 19, and I just admire you so much, and can imagine how totally irritating that was. And I know how self-centered people can be, and you're so gracious and so loving and so thoughtful toward others. It's just something like that. But then, I don't think I would have any additional expertise to offer you. I think you're probably way better at dealing with customers than I would be. But is that something we should brainstorm about a little bit, or do you mainly just want to tell me what an awful day you had and get a little love and support?
I love that, David. And I think the part that Caelyn did that really was in that A range for me was the open hands.
Yeah.
With the invitation part of it, she was totally okay going in either direction.
Yeah.
Enhance it with those 5 secrets, but that felt very kind of open.
Yeah.
For
the
me.
Paradoxical Invitation is the most difficult tool in all of TEAM-CBT. And very few therapists can learn to do it, even with extensive training. And you're pretty much home base already. You're rounding third, heading toward home. So that's really cool. Way to go.
Should we have her do it again?
Yeah, should we do a demo of the paradoxical one as well? Kind of.
Well, I was wondering if Caelyn, you want to try the invitation again, now that you've gotten all this feedback. Would you like to try to do it again?
Not really. I'm under pressure now.
Well, yeah, you don't have to if you don't want to.
That was like my first scenario ever, so I'm like getting into character.
All right.
Yeah, cool.
Awesome.
Okay.
Oh, I just had this terrible day at work. This guy showed up 20 minutes late for his appointment, and we sent out reminders, and after 15 minutes, our clinician had another appointment they had to get to, and when he arrived, he was super mad, and he ended up leaving really angry.
Oh man, I feel like that would have been so stressful and such a awful day to live through, having to deal with that. You are good at your job, and so I'm sure you have more ideas on what to do with this situation. So you probably don't need any help from me with that. Do you just want to talk about it some more and kind of unload the stress from the day, or what do you need from me going forward?
So, Caelyn, how did you like that one?
I don't know. It's still hard for me to sort of step into how I feel like I would really manage it in real life.
Mm-hmm.
But I added the I feel statement, so there's a little improvement. But yeah, I don't know.
You added stroking.
I still feel like more practice, and I could be more comfortable just doing that naturally.
I think you guys set it up poorly. Not Caelyn, but Mike and Rhonda.
Oh, okay.
Was this a two-step process where first you have to empathize and get an A or an A+ before you go on to the invitation step? It looked to me like you were asking her to combine those.
Yes.
Well, we are asking her to combine.
Yeah, we're asking her to combine
I feel statement, stroking, inquiry.
Right.
as part of the invitation step.
Yeah. But you know, when we practice the invitation step, we say you've got to get an A first in empathy before you issue your invitation, and that wasn't clarified. And I think if you, Caelyn, were just told you just go ahead and empathize, and then once you're done empathizing, then you can do your invitation step. I think it would have been much easier for you.
Mm.
Oh, yeah. Because
So
there's a lot to digest all at once.
Yeah. And it's not what we do in a real life situation. You'd empathize and spend a little time with the person.
Yeah. So we'd have to,
and then come in with your invitation. And that's probably what you meant when you said that you're not sure this is what you do in real life.
Mm-hmm.
In real life, the conversations would be longer. Definitely.
Yeah. Just the empathy would be longer.
Oh, yeah.
It might be 5, 10, 15 minutes. And in a therapy session, the same thing. And then we'd come in and say, now, is there something here that we should be working on? And if the person is, you trust them, and especially if they're depressed or anxious, but if they seem like a good egg, then you give a straightforward invitation.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, "Boy, I'd love to give you some help with that if you need some help, but I don't want to jump in before you're ready." This is what I'd say in a therapy session, and because just talking and venting is really, really important. But so, how do you feel right now? Would you want to talk some more and get more support? Or are you ready to roll up your sleeves and see what we can do about this? That would be the straightforward invitation. And then if it's someone who, in your experience, just wants to whine and complain and, the yes, but everything, and then you give the paradoxical invitation, which is more along the lines as, boy, what you've been up, this is after you've empathized, you say what you've been up against here is a pain in the ass. I know a lot of people like that who just whine and complain, and I can imagine how frustrated you must be feeling, and how angry and how unfair it is. And I've got some cool techniques maybe to deal with that, but I'm not hearing from you that's something that you're actually asking for. But let me see if I'm reading you right. Something like that. So you're kind of inviting the other person to reveal to you that they really don't want any help with the problem, and that's hard for therapists to learn because most of us are kind of addicted to helping people, and this is kind of sitting with open hands. for whatever that was worth, I got to thinking like that. This probably sounds stupid what I'm saying, but anyway.
Oh, I love what you're saying, David, because I think it's the same in the parent role, right?
Yeah.
We get, as our children, particularly as they're teenagers, they become more independent, and we almost like kind of want to keep them little.
Yeah.
And get in that control and that the empathizing, is so key. And when you do offer an invitation, if there is that openness, you can offer a straightforward, because I've certainly done that with Caelyn.
And it's not just when your kids are teenagers. Like we talk to our son and our daughter all the time.
And adults, yeah.
They're in their 40s. I think my daughter's just turned 50 or is about to turn 50 at the end of this month. And but they still have issues, and it's always a question of whether just to empathize and be supportive or try to help them solve some type of problem.
Oftentimes now I'll say to Caelyn, after we've done some empathy and some listening, I'll say something like, it sounds like you probably already got this figured out and you don't really need my help or advice, and that's not what you're looking for here. But
that's nice. Yeah.
But I'm here if you want to. And then she usually smiles because she knows I'm doing kind of the paradoxical invitation.
Yeah.
And then she'll say, no, I want you to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes she actually wants help and sometimes she doesn't. But if I don't offer that paradoxical invitation or a straightforward, then it backfires almost every time.
Mm. So Caelyn, talk and give us your take on what's happening here so far.
What my dad just said actually reminds me of something that I learned, because my parents used to run prenatal classes for mothers who were obviously about to give birth. And
did they do that when you were about to be born?
Well,
and you attended those classes?
I have no idea. But there's this thing that this guy on a movie taught about babies and soothers, and how you don't want to just shove the soother in the baby's mouth. You kind of hold it and almost even pull it away a little bit, and then it makes the baby want to like latch on and suck on the soother. And I feel like that's what my dad does with me.
Oh yeah.
He's offering the when he's saying, I don't think you really want my help. And then I'm like, no, yes, I do.
Yeah, right.
And that's just what that reminded me of just there.
Mm. Yeah, that's cool what you're saying. To me, it's kind of like how the universe works. When you chase, what you want runs away from you. And when you step back, then it pursues you. And I guess the idea in my life is to try to align myself with the people who are pursuing me and not for me to be pursuing. That's even in a therapy session. Because when I pursue or try to push my ideas too much, it almost always ends up in failure or rejection. Like right now, I'm doing we're going to publish the results of the app, and we got a group of Stanford psychology students who are going to publish this outcome paper. We did a fairly scientific outcome paper on the app, and it came out really well. And we're trying to kind of stay out of the picture so it won't be us publishing on our own app. It'll be an independent group from Stanford. But I'm kind of pushing them to analyze the data with this technique I call structural equation modeling. And I've used it for many years, and it's really, in fact, one of the world's leading experts is on our board of advisors at their Feeling Good app, James Arbuckle. And I'm trying to get them to use structural equation modeling because you can do way more powerful and cool things with it. And the more I try to push them in that direction, the more they just want to do some standard kind of thing and get it into the press, which is inevitable, not the end of the world, but it's that same dynamic. I'm saying, why can't they see that what I'm promoting is so much superior to what they're being taught by their professors about statistics? But it's that same thing. We get to thinking, we've got to be the experts, and we really want people to acknowledge that the superior knowledge that we have, and it's just a kind of a narcissistic thing that turns people off. But how is this in terms of getting negative feedback for you, Caelyn? Because a lot of the therapists we train don't want to get this negative feedback. They say they do, but then, when it comes time to get an F instead of an A on a role play, they get kind of threatened by that. And we're laying it to you, just like in our Tuesday training group. I mean, what's this like for you?
I mean, it's always kind of scary getting the feedback, and especially being told like, oh, this is what you should have done better, because in the back of your mind there's the ego that's like, oh, you should have done better. But then you kind of have to just bring to the forefront of your mind, no, but this is good because I'm getting the lessons that I need to do better. So really, this is a positive thing, getting this negative feedback.
Yeah, that's right. I love your mindset, and if you stick with that mindset, you'll just have a phenomenal experience. And if you want to go ahead and be, say, a clinical psychologist or something like that, your only issue will be that sometimes you're going to know more than the people are trying to teach you, so you have to kind of pretend to be dumb and to be learning from them. I mean, I shouldn't say this, but a lot of graduate school training in mental health is really perhaps not that spiffy, and it's just, you got to pay your dues until you get your license, and then you can have your own clinical practice or be a professor or whatever you want to do, and then you can kind of do things the way you want. But what I learn and what I do in my daily practice, not much of it came from my psychiatric residency training. I did find one person that I learned quite a lot from, Aaron Beck, after I'd already graduated, and I was doing a postdoctoral, an extra 2 years of postdoctoral training and research. But most of it wasn't too good. I don't know. How was it for you, Rhonda?
I have to completely agree with you, actually.
Yeah. I'm with you too, David. And I think you and Caelyn both really hit the nail on the head, because it's so hard to do. And I think this is a lifelong challenge. It's so hard, to set our ego aside. Every workshop we've ever done together, David, it's the first thing you tell people is, leave your ego at the door, but you won't be able to. So just acknowledge that right now. And it's the same, in when I get into dad advice mode, it's my ego. I want to be, the one who, gives my tremendous wisdom from all of my years. No, I have no idea what's going on, and she knows better than I do.
Right.
And in the therapy session, you get kind of almost addicted to the helping, and to constantly be reminded to set our ego aside and humbly puts you in a totally different posture.
I had one other question for you, Caelyn. Do you want a tough question or an easy question?
Surprise me.
Okay. Well, this is probably an evil question, and totally inappropriate as well. But your dad is one of the kindest and warmest, gentlest people I know. Would you agree with that, Rhonda?
Absolutely.
Like, he's kind of right up there. Well, as you've often said so often, Rhonda, he's right up there with Jesus.
I think I said he has the same gentle quality as my husband, which is the
okay. That's what you said.
Yeah.
But the question is he as good as he seems to be? Because, I mean, I know as a father, I screw up a whole lot and kind of get irritable at times and insensitive at times, and I know Mike is a saint, but I just thought I would double check with you.
Nobody's perfect, but I think so of course he's not perfect, most gentlest, kindest, like Jesus human all the time, every day. But I think what's the most important quality is that he does accept when he messes up or isn't the most kindest, gentlest person ever, and then he works on it. And so that makes him the best.
Yeah, that's right. And I can see why you both love each other so much. And I for one, just wish you the best in your training. I look forward, Rhonda and I have these free training groups that we offer each week. And once you're kind of into your graduate area of training, you'd be eligible to start coming to our free training, weekly training groups. And that's just like today's app. We just, here's an idea, and then we role play it and give feedback. And that would be so exciting. I look forward to the day and hope it comes.
Absolutely. That would be super fun. And it's confidential, so we wouldn't tell your dad what we're talking about. You're so psychologically minded. Are your siblings the same way?
I don't know. I think sometimes it can be hard operating at this level of analyzing things in the world all the time. And so sometimes I like to talk to my siblings about this stuff, and then they're like, you're overthinking it. Just relax. Just enjoy life.
Yeah.
They're a bit more, I don't know, relaxed about things. Whereas I'm like, this is so cool. We got to talk about this.
Yeah. Right.
Nice.
Well, I can't wait to see what the future unfolds, and maybe you'll be back on a podcast before too long with some other cool topic with your dad, or perhaps without your dad.
Nice. Yeah.
I'd enjoy that.
Okay.
Great. Well, before we close, let me give you the information for the Mexico City intensive, which it's November 6th to 9th of 2023. And to find out about it, you would go to TEAM-CBT. That's all one word, TEAM-CBT.mx.
Oh, that's pretty simple.
Very simple.
TEAM-CBT.mx. What does the MX stand for?
Mexico.
Sure.
Oh, because that's a coincidence, because MX is a lot like Mexico.
Yeah.
It's MEX, so this is MX. So, or for the UK one, go to teamcbt.uk. That one's August 14th to 17th. So those might be fun programs if you're live in those parts and want to learn more about TEAM-CBT and what's going on.
Yeah, or else they're both, if you don't live close, but you want to travel to the UK, Bristol is a really cool area. There's lots of really neat things to do in Mexico City. I think Victoria Chicarel, who's one of the organizers of the Mexico City conference, is planning some really fun side day trips for people who attend.
What's the date of this podcast going to be? This
podcast will be May 8th.
Okay, so it missed my I think it was a May 5th workshop on habits with Jill, but in the middle of March, my social anxiety workshop has been rescheduled.
Oh, great.
And I don't have the contact information about it, but I had COVID, when I was supposed to give it, 4 or 5 weeks ago, and then I had COVID and lost my voice. So I'll try to send out a flyer on it. And that'll be a one-day workshop, but I'll do a live demo. So it'll be like a day-and-a-half workshop with lots of CE credits. And if you want to find out about it, go to J&K, J&K seminars in Lancaster, PA. It'll be all virtual, but that's where you go and get the info about it. Or maybe you know what it is, what the reference for it is, Jill or Rhonda?
Not yet.
Okay.
Those are always amazing. The live demos you, David, are just magical. And so I'd encourage everyone.
Yeah, you brought us some real magic today, both of you. Love you both.
It's been a ton of fun hanging out, and certainly if people want
Actually, I do know.
Okay.
It's going to be July 14th.
Awesome. Okay,
July 14th. That's right. And then where do they go to get information on that?
Well, I have jkseminars.com.
jkseminars.com. That should be easy. jkseminars, all one word, .com. And then you can find this July 14th social anxiety. And that's going to be fun for you if you're a therapist, or if you just have social anxiety and you want to do a little bit of personal healing. And we'll culminate at the end of the day with a live demo with someone struggling with social anxiety. So it should be darn good.
Definitely.
Always a ton of fun hanging out with both of you, Rhonda and David, and excited for the next time. I'm not quite as narcissistic as David, but I've learned from him. And the book that Maura and I are co-authoring will be coming out sometime in the next year, and so I'll put a teeny plug in for that, little shameless plug.
Nice.
And just tell us, what's this book going to be about, and why should anyone care?
Yeah, it's going to be about how to become an effective therapist using deliberate practice to practice the skills and techniques in TEAM-CBT.
And that's practicing, getting immediate feedback, doing role reversals, repeating it until you get an A. A little like what we were doing today, but even more so.
Yeah.
And that'll be coming out roughly when?
Probably 6 to 8 months. It's been sent to the publishers, and so they'll do their magic work that they do to make it ready for publishing.
Okay, and the authors are you and who?
Myself and Maura.
Okay.
Cats. Yeah.
Okay. Well, once you get some info on it, send it to us, and we'll give it a little blurb on the podcast, so people will know the name of the book. And what's it called? Just Deliberate Practice?
We haven't come up with a total title yet. The subtitle will be Deliberate Practice in TEAM-CBT.
Nice.
That's the subtitle, Deliberate Practice in TEAM-CBT.
They're working on a catchy title, but
you know
how that goes, David.
like Unlimited Sex Appeal -
something like that.
Deliberate Practice and TEAM-CBT.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Caelyn, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you later. We'll see you next time, Mike.
Awesome. Take
Thanks
care.
so much for having me.
Bye, David.
Bye.
This has been another episode of the Feeling Good podcast. For more information, visit Dr. Burns' website at feelinggood.com, where you will find the show notes under the podcast page. You will also find archives of previous episodes and many resources for therapists and non-therapists. We welcome your comments and questions. If you want to support the show, please share the podcast with people who might benefit from it. You could also go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. I am your host, Rhonda Borowski, the director of the Feeling Great Therapy Center. We hope you enjoyed this episode. I invite you to join us next time for another episode of the Feeling Good podcast.